Have you ever noticed that the more you explain yourself, the less powerful you begin to feel? The moment people fully understand your patterns, your emotions, and your reactions, they start to predict you, and once they can predict you, they slowly begin to control how they treat you and how much they respect you. But what if your true power was never meant to come from being understood by everyone? And what if your strength actually begins the moment you stop revealing everything and allow a sense of mystery to exist around you? The Buddha never taught people to impress others or constantly explain who they are. He taught something far deeper: to understand yourself so completely that you no longer need validation from the outside world. And when you reach that point, something powerful happens inside you. You stop trying to be clear for everyone, you stop justifying your actions, and you become someone who moves with quiet confidence, calm presence, and a depth that people cannot fully figure out. And that is exactly where your real power begins. 1. The less you explain, the more you protect your energy. Most people do not realize how much energy they lose by constantly explaining themselves to others. Every time you justify your choices, defend your actions, or try to make someone understand your intentions, you are giving away a piece of your mental and emotional energy. The Buddha taught that attachment to opinions is one of the roots of suffering, and when you feel the need to be understood by everyone, you become attached to how others perceive you. This attachment drains you because you are trying to control something that is not in your control. When you begin to speak less and only express what is necessary, you protect your energy in a powerful way. You stop feeding unnecessary conversations, you stop reacting to every opinion, and you allow people to think what they want without feeling the need to correct them. This is not weakness, it is discipline, and over time, this discipline creates a calm and grounded presence that people can feel even when you say very little. 2. Mystery creates respect without effort. There is something naturally powerful about a person who does not reveal everything about themselves. When people can fully predict you, your behavior becomes familiar, and over time, that familiarity reduces the impact you have on them. They stop paying close attention because they feel like they already know you. But when there is a sense of mystery around you, something different happens. People become more aware of your presence, they observe you more carefully, and they start to take your words more seriously because they cannot easily figure you out. This does not mean you need to act strange or pretend to be someone else. True mystery comes from being calm, composed, and not feeling the need to constantly share every detail of your thoughts, plans, or emotions. The Buddha's presence carried this kind of quiet depth. He did not speak to fill silence, and he did not reveal more than what was necessary. Because of this, when he did speak, people listened with full attention because his words had weight. In your own life, when you stop oversharing and become more selective about what you reveal, your presence naturally becomes stronger. People begin to feel that there is more to you than what they can see, and this creates a sense of respect without you having to demand it. You are no longer trying to impress or convince anyone, yet your calm and reserved nature leaves a deeper impression than constant talking ever could. Over time, this quiet mystery becomes a form of power because it keeps your energy protected while making your presence more valuable in the eyes of others. 3. You do not need everyone to understand you. One of the biggest reasons people feel mentally exhausted is because they are constantly trying to make others understand them. They explain their decisions, their feelings, and their actions again and again, hoping that others will finally see their perspective clearly. But the truth is, no matter how well you explain yourself, not everyone will understand you the way you expect. The Buddha taught that every person sees the world through their own mind, which is shaped by their past experiences, beliefs, and emotions. This means people are not seeing you as you are, they are seeing you through their own filter. Because of this, Trying to make everyone understand you becomes a never-ending effort that drains your energy and disturbs your peace. You start to feel frustrated when people misinterpret you, and you may even begin to doubt yourself just because others do not see things your way. But when you truly understand this reality, something powerful begins to change inside you. You stop trying to control how others perceive you, and instead, you focus on staying true to your own values and intentions. This shift brings a deep sense of freedom because you are no longer dependent on external understanding for your inner stability. You begin to accept that some people will misunderstand you, some will judge you, and some will never fully see your perspective, and that is completely fine. You do not need everyone's approval to move forward in life. When you let go of this need, your mind becomes lighter, your decisions become clearer, and you start to move with quiet confidence, knowing that your path does not need to be understood by everyone to be valid. 4. Silence makes you unpredictable. Most people move through life in a very predictable way without even realizing it. They react quickly to everything, they express every thought that comes to their mind, and they allow their emotions to show immediately in their words and actions. Over time, this creates a clear pattern, and once people begin to notice that pattern, they start to understand exactly how to deal with you. They know what makes you angry, what makes you emotional, what makes you insecure, and what kind of situations will trigger a reaction from you. When this happens, you slowly lose control over how others influence your state of mind, because your reactions are no longer yours, they are expected. The Buddha emphasized awareness as one of the most important qualities a person can develop, because awareness creates a space between what happens and how you respond to it. In that space, you gain the ability to choose your reaction instead of being controlled by it. When you begin to practice silence, not just in words but also in your reactions, something powerful starts to change. You stop reacting instantly, you stop expressing every emotion, and you begin to observe more than you speak. This makes your behavior less predictable, because people can no longer easily guess how you will respond in a situation. This unpredictability does not come from trying to confuse others, but from being deeply in control of yourself. When you are aware of your emotions and choose when and how to express them, you are no longer operating on impulse. Instead, you are acting with intention. People may try to provoke you, test you, or get a reaction from you, but when you remain calm and composed, their expectations begin to fail. Over time, they realize that you are not easy to influence, and this changes the way they approach you. Silence also allows you to see more clearly. When you are not constantly reacting or speaking, you begin to notice things that others miss. You observe people's behavior, their intentions, and their patterns without getting caught in emotional responses. This gives you a deeper understanding of situations, which further strengthens your control. Instead of being pulled into every situation, you stand slightly apart from it, seeing it with clarity and responding only when necessary. As you continue to practice this, your presence begins to carry a different kind of energy. People may not fully understand you, but they will sense that you are not easily affected. They will notice that you do not react the way others do, and this creates a quiet respect. You are no longer someone who can be easily predicted or manipulated, because your actions are not driven by impulse but by awareness. In the end, silence is not about avoiding expression or disconnecting from others. It is about mastering your reactions so completely that you choose when to speak, when to act, and when to remain still. This level of control makes you unpredictable in the best way possible, because your responses are no longer automatic, they are intentional. And in that intention lies a deep and lasting form of power that cannot be easily taken away or influenced by others. 5. Not revealing everything builds inner strength. Most people believe that expressing everything they feel and sharing every detail of their life is a sign of honesty and openness, but in reality, it often comes from a deeper need to be seen, understood, or validated by others. When you constantly reveal your thoughts, your struggles, your plans, and your emotions, you slowly become dependent on how others respond to you. If they agree with you, you feel good, and if they question or judge you, you feel disturbed. This creates an invisible dependency where your inner state begins to rely on external reactions, and over time, this weakens your sense of self. The Buddha taught the importance of observing the mind instead of immediately expressing it. He understood that not every thought needs to be spoken, and not every emotion needs to be shared. When you begin to practice this, you start to notice how many of your thoughts are temporary and how many of your emotions come and go like waves. If you express everything instantly, you lose the opportunity to understand yourself deeply because you are always reacting instead of reflecting. But when you pause and keep certain things within, you create space to observe, process, and gain clarity. This is where inner strength begins to grow. It is built in those quiet moments when you choose not to react immediately, when you decide not to share something just for the sake of being heard, and when you hold your thoughts long enough to understand them before expressing them. This does not mean you become closed off or distant from others, but it means you become selective. You begin to understand that not everyone needs to know everything about you, and not every situation requires your full emotional exposure. When you stop revealing everything, you also reduce the chances of others using your words or emotions against you. People often use what you share to form opinions, make judgments, or even manipulate situations in their favor. But when you are mindful of what you reveal, you maintain control over your own narrative. You become someone who speaks with intention rather than impulse, and this makes your words more powerful when you do choose to express them. Over time, this habit creates a strong inner foundation. You no longer feel the need to constantly seek reassurance or approval because you have developed a sense of stability within yourself. You trust your own thoughts, you understand your own emotions, and you become comfortable with your own silence. This kind of strength is not loud or visible, but it is deeply rooted, and it allows you to move through life without being easily shaken by external opinions or reactions. In the end, not revealing everything is not about hiding who you are, but about protecting your inner world and giving yourself the space to grow without constant external influence. It is about understanding that your thoughts and emotions are valuable, and they do not need to be exposed to everyone to be real. When you learn to hold your energy within and express it with intention, you become more grounded, more controlled, and far more powerful than someone who gives everything away without awareness. 6. When you are hard to read, you are hard to control. Most people do not realize how much control they give away in their daily lives, not through their actions, but through their reactions. Every time you show exactly what affects you, every time your emotions become visible and predictable, you are quietly teaching others how to influence you. You are showing them what makes you uncomfortable, what makes you insecure, what makes you angry, and what makes you lose your balance. Over time, this creates a pattern, and once that pattern is understood, it becomes easy for others to use it, sometimes intentionally, and sometimes without even realizing it. This is how control begins, not through force, but through understanding your emotional weaknesses. The Buddha taught that true freedom does not come from controlling the outside world, but from mastering your inner world. He understood that as long as your peace depends on how others behave, you are not truly free. If someone can change your mood with their words, disturb your mind with their actions, or influence your decisions with their opinions, then they hold a level of control over you. This is why becoming hard to read is not about hiding yourself, but about strengthening your inner stability so deeply that your reactions are no longer easily triggered. When you begin this practice, the first thing you notice is how often you used to react automatically. Someone says something negative, and you feel the urge to respond immediately. Someone disrespects you, and your emotions rise without control. Someone questions you, and you feel the need to defend yourself. These reactions feel natural, but they are also predictable, and predictability is what allows others to control the situation. The moment you become aware of this pattern, you begin to see that your reactions are not always necessary. You start to realize that not everything deserves your response, and not every situation requires your emotional involvement. As you develop this awareness, you begin to create a space between what happens and how you respond. In that space, you gain the ability to choose your reaction instead of being controlled by it. You may still feel emotions, but you are no longer driven by them. You observe them, understand them, and decide whether they are worth expressing. This is where your power begins to grow, because your behavior is no longer automatic. It becomes intentional. When you become less reactive and more controlled, people start to notice that they cannot easily influence you anymore. The same words that once triggered you no longer have the same effect. The same situations that once disturbed your peace no longer shake you in the same way. This creates a shift in how people interact with you, because they realize that their usual ways of getting a reaction from you are no longer working. You become someone who cannot be easily provoked, and that alone changes the dynamic of every interaction. Being hard to read does not mean suppressing your emotions or pretending to be someone you are not. It means you do not display every emotion openly, and you do not react in ways that give others insight into your inner state. You remain calm when others expect you to react, and you remain steady when others expect you to lose balance. This calmness creates uncertainty, because people are no longer able to predict how you will respond. And when they cannot predict you, they cannot control you. At the same time, this practice strengthens your relationship with yourself. You become more aware of your thoughts, your triggers, and your patterns. Instead of being controlled by them, you begin to understand them. You learn what affects you and why it affects you, and through this understanding, you slowly reduce their power over you. Your inner world becomes more stable, and that stability reflects in your outer behavior. There is also a deeper level to this that many people overlook. When you are hard to read, you are not only protecting yourself from control, but you are also protecting your peace. You are no longer reacting to every opinion, every comment, or every situation. You are not allowing external noise to disturb your inner clarity. This creates a sense of calm that is not easily broken, because it does not depend on what is happening around you. Over time, this way of living becomes natural. You no longer feel the need to react instantly. You no longer feel the urge to explain yourself constantly, and you no longer feel affected by things that once disturbed you deeply. You move through life with a sense of quiet confidence, knowing that your state of mind is in your control. People may try to understand you, predict you, or influence you, but they find it difficult because your reactions are no longer obvious or easy to read. In the end, being hard to read is not about creating distance between you and others, but about creating control within yourself. It is about becoming so grounded in your own awareness that your peace is no longer dependent on external factors. When you reach this level, you are no longer someone who is easily influenced, easily disturbed, or easily controlled. You become someone who observes more than reacts, who chooses more than responds, and who remains steady even when everything around you is uncertain. And that is where true power lies, not in controlling others, but in becoming so centered within yourself that no one else can control you. 7. True power is quiet, not obvious. In a world that constantly rewards noise, visibility, and attention, It is easy to believe that power must be loud in order to be real. People are taught to speak more, show more, explain more, and prove themselves at every step of life, as if their value depends on how visible they are to others. Social environments, conversations, and even relationships often revolve around who can express the most, who can dominate the space, and who can make their presence known the strongest. But if you observe deeply, you will begin to notice something different. The people who carry the greatest level of control, the deepest sense of confidence, and the strongest presence are often the ones who do not feel the need to constantly display it. Their power is not obvious, yet it is deeply felt. The Buddha's teachings were rooted in this quiet strength. He did not rely on loud words, constant explanations, or visible dominance to establish his presence. Instead, his power came from his stillness, his awareness, and his complete control over his inner world. He did not need to convince others of who he was, because he was already grounded in his truth. This kind of power does not seek attention, it does not chase validation, and it does not depend on recognition. It simply exists, and because it exists so firmly within, it naturally influences everything around it without effort. When you begin to understand this, your entire approach to life starts to shift. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself in every situation. You do not feel pressured to explain your decisions to everyone who questions you. You do not feel the urge to make your presence known in every room you enter. Instead, you begin to move with a quiet confidence that does not need external confirmation. This confidence is not built on what others think of you, but on how deeply you understand yourself. And when your sense of self comes from within, it becomes stable, unshaken, and independent of outside opinions. True power is quiet because it is controlled. It is not reactive, it is not impulsive, and it is not driven by the need to be seen. When you are truly powerful, you do not waste your energy trying to impress others or gain their approval. You become more selective with your words, more intentional with your actions, and more aware of where your energy is going. This creates a presence that feels different to others. Even if they cannot explain it, they sense that you are not easily influenced, not easily disturbed, and not easily understood. And that alone creates a natural respect that cannot be forced or demanded. There is also a deep sense of peace that comes with this quiet power. When you stop trying to prove yourself, you free yourself from the constant pressure of meeting expectations. You are no longer living to be understood, accepted, or validated by others. Instead, you are living in alignment with your own awareness. This brings a level of calm that is not dependent on external circumstances. Even when things around you are uncertain, your inner state remains stable because it is not built on things that can easily change. At the same time, quiet power allows you to observe more than you react. When you are not focused on expressing yourself constantly, you begin to see more clearly what is happening around you. You notice people's intentions, their behaviors, and their patterns without getting emotionally involved in every situation. This awareness gives you an advantage because you are no longer caught in the noise. You are able to move with clarity, make better decisions, and respond with intention instead of impulse. Many people mistake silence for weakness because they associate strength with expression. They believe that if someone is not speaking loudly or showing their power openly, then they must lack confidence or control. But in reality, it takes far more strength to remain calm when others expect a reaction, to remain silent when others are trying to provoke you, and to remain grounded when everything around you is chaotic. This kind of strength is not visible on the surface, but it is deeply rooted, and that is what makes it powerful. As you continue to develop this way of being, you begin to notice that your presence alone starts to have an impact. You do not need to speak as much to be heard, because when you do speak, your words carry more weight. You do not need to prove your value, because people can feel it without you saying anything. You do not need to chase attention, because your calm and steady nature naturally draws it. This is the effect of quiet power. It works without force, without noise, and without constant effort. Over time, you also become less affected by how others behave. When someone disrespects you, you do not feel the need to react immediately. When someone misunderstands you, you do not feel the urge to correct them right away. When someone tries to challenge you, you remain steady instead of getting pulled into unnecessary conflict. This does not mean you avoid situations or ignore everything, but it means you choose your responses carefully. You act when it is necessary, and you remain silent when it is not. This level of control creates a strong boundary between your inner world and the outside world, protecting your peace while maintaining your strength. There is a certain depth to a person who carries quiet power. It is not something that can be easily explained or defined, but it can be felt in their presence. It is the way they remain composed under pressure, the way they speak with intention, and the way they do not allow external situations to disturb their inner state. This depth makes them difficult to fully understand, and that is what makes them powerful. People may try to figure them out, but they cannot easily do so, because their strength does not come from what is visible, it comes from what is within. In the end, true power is not about being seen, heard, or recognized by everyone around you. It is about having complete control over yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, and your reactions. It is about being so grounded in your own awareness that you no longer depend on external validation to feel strong. When you reach this level, you do not need to show your power, because it is already there, quietly shaping your actions, your presence, and your life. And this is the highest form of strength, the kind that does not demand attention, but naturally commands respect. 8. The power of detachment makes you untouchable. Most people live their entire lives emotionally attached to things they cannot control, and, without realizing it, this attachment becomes the very reason they feel disturbed, anxious, and mentally exhausted. They become attached to how people treat them, attached to how others perceive them, attached to outcomes, expectations, and even the way situations should unfold. Because of this attachment, their inner state is constantly shifting depending on what is happening outside of them. If someone appreciates them, they feel good, and if someone ignores them, they feel hurt. If things go their way, they feel confident, and if things fall apart, they feel lost. This constant dependence on external conditions keeps them in a fragile state where their peace is easily broken. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering, not because the world is meant to be avoided, but because clinging to things creates a fear of losing them. When you hold on too tightly to people, expectations, or outcomes, you give them power over your emotional state. You begin to fear rejection, fear failure, and fear uncertainty, and these fears slowly control your thoughts and actions. This is why detachment is not about losing connection with life, but about changing your relationship with it. It is about participating fully in life without allowing it to control your inner peace. When you begin to practice detachment, the first thing that changes is your perspective. You start to see that not everything deserves your emotional investment. You begin to understand that people will behave according to their nature, situations will unfold in unpredictable ways, and outcomes will not always match your expectations. Instead of resisting this reality, you start to accept it. This acceptance does not make you passive, it makes you clear. You stop fighting things that are outside your control, and you start focusing on what is within your control, which is your response, your mindset, and your actions. As this understanding deepens, you begin to feel lighter. The things that once disturbed you start to lose their grip. Someone's opinion no longer has the same weight. Someone's behavior no longer triggers the same reaction, and situations that once caused stress no longer feel as overwhelming. This does not happen because the world has changed, but because your relationship with it has changed. You are no longer emotionally tied to every outcome, and because of that, you remain stable even when things are uncertain. Detachment also strengthens your sense of self. When you are not constantly seeking validation or approval from others, you begin to rely more on your own understanding. You trust your decisions, you stand by your choices, and you no longer feel the need to constantly explain or justify yourself. This creates a strong inner foundation that is not easily shaken. You become less dependent on external support and more connected to your own inner stability. This kind of independence is not isolation, it is strength, because it allows you to stand firmly even when you are alone. There is also a powerful shift that happens in your interactions with others. When you are attached, you tend to react more, expect more, and get affected more. But when you are detached, you observe more, expect less, and remain unaffected by things that are not worth your energy. This changes the dynamic completely. People may try to provoke you, influence you, or pull you into unnecessary situations, but when you are detached, you do not get pulled in easily. You remain calm, composed, and in control of your own state. This makes you hard to influence, and when you are hard to influence, you become hard to control. Detachment does not mean you stop caring about people or life. It means you care without losing yourself in the process. You can still love, still connect, and still participate, but you do not attach your peace to those things. You understand that everything in life is temporary, and instead of trying to hold on to it tightly, you allow it to exist as it is. This creates a deeper and more balanced way of living, where you are involved but not dependent, connected but not controlled. Over time, this way of being makes you emotionally untouchable, not because nothing affects you, but because nothing controls you. You may still feel emotions, but they do not take over you. You may still face challenges, but they do not break your inner stability. You remain grounded, aware, and in control, no matter what is happening around you. This is the true meaning of strength, not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. When you reach this level, your presence begins to change. People notice that you are not easily disturbed, not easily influenced, and not easily shaken. They may not understand how or why, but they can feel that you are different. You are no longer reacting to everything, no longer chasing validation, and no longer depending on external conditions for your peace. This creates a natural respect, because people can sense that you are in control of yourself in a way that most people are not. In the end, detachment is not about losing something, it is about gaining control over yourself. It is about freeing your mind from unnecessary attachments so that you can live with clarity, stability, and peace. When you are no longer attached to every outcome, every opinion, and every situation, you become someone who cannot be easily shaken. You move through life with a calm strength that does not depend on anything outside of you. And that is where true power reaches its highest level, when you become so centered within yourself that nothing outside of you can take that power away. 9. Control your mind, or others will control it for you. Most people believe they are living their life freely, making their own choices, thinking their own thoughts, and moving in their own direction. But if you look closely, you will begin to notice something different. Many of the thoughts that pass through the mind every day are not consciously chosen. They are reactions to what others say, what others think, and what others expect. A single comment can stay in the mind for hours, a single opinion can change your mood, and a single situation can disturb your entire day. When this happens, it means your mind is no longer fully under your control. It is being influenced by everything around you. The Buddha taught that the mind, if left untrained, becomes the source of suffering. It jumps from thought to thought, reacts to every situation, and gets attached to things that do not truly matter. Without awareness, the mind becomes like an open door, allowing every external influence to enter and take control. People's opinions, social expectations, and even small everyday interactions begin to shape your thoughts and emotions without you realizing it. Over time, this creates a pattern where your inner state is constantly changing based on what is happening outside. And this is where you begin to lose your power. When you do not control your mind, others will control it for you, not necessarily in an obvious or intentional way, but through their words, actions, and presence. Someone criticizes you, and your confidence drops. Someone praises you, and your mood rises. Someone ignores you, and you begin to question your worth. These shifts may feel natural, but they show how easily your inner state is being influenced. The more reactive your mind is, the easier it becomes for others to affect you, and the easier it is to lose control over your own thoughts and emotions. The first step toward true control is awareness. You begin to notice your thoughts instead of immediately believing them. You begin to observe your reactions instead of acting on them instantly. This simple shift creates a powerful distance between you and your mind. Instead of being controlled by every thought, you start to see that thoughts come and go, and not all of them deserve your attention. The Buddha emphasized this practice of observation because it allows you to step out of automatic reactions and into conscious control. As you continue this practice, you start to recognize patterns in your thinking. You notice what triggers you, what disturbs you, and what pulls your attention away from your peace. Instead of blaming the outside world, you begin to understand your own mind more deeply. You realize that the problem is not always what happens, but how your mind responds to it. This understanding is powerful because it shifts your focus from trying to control external situations to mastering your internal state. Controlling your mind does not mean suppressing your thoughts or forcing yourself to feel a certain way. It means choosing which thoughts to engage with and which ones to let go. It means recognizing that just because a thought appears in your mind does not mean it is true or important. When you stop giving attention to every thought, your mind becomes quieter, clearer, and more stable. You are no longer pulled in different directions by every external influence, and this creates a sense of control that most people never experience. This control also changes the way you interact with the world. When your mind is steady, you are less affected by what others say or do. Criticism does not shake you as easily, praise does not control you as strongly, and situations do not disturb you as deeply. You begin to respond instead of react, and this creates a powerful shift in your behavior. People may try to influence you, provoke you, or pull you into their emotional state, but when your mind is under your control, you remain grounded. Over time, this practice builds a strong inner foundation. You become less dependent on external validation and more connected to your own understanding. You trust your thoughts, but you do not blindly follow them. You feel emotions, but you are not controlled by them. This balance creates a deep sense of stability where your peace is not easily disturbed by what is happening around you. There is also a level of freedom that comes with controlling your mind. When you are no longer controlled by every thought or influenced by every opinion, you begin to move through life with clarity. You make decisions based on awareness instead of impulse. You choose your direction based on your values instead of external pressure. This freedom allows you to live more authentically without constantly being pulled by the expectations of others. Many people spend their lives trying to control external circumstances, believing that if everything around them is perfect, they will feel at peace. But the Buddha taught that true peace does not come from controlling the outside world. It comes from mastering the inside. When your mind is steady, external situations lose their power over you. You may still face challenges, but they do not disturb your inner state in the same way. You remain calm, focused, and in control, regardless of what is happening around you. As you continue to strengthen your mind, you also become harder to read. Not because you are hiding your thoughts, but because your reactions are no longer automatic. People cannot easily predict how you will respond, and this unpredictability creates a form of protection. You are no longer easily influenced, and this makes it difficult for others to control your behavior. Your calmness becomes your strength, and your awareness becomes your shield. In the end, controlling your mind is the foundation of all true power. It is what allows you to remain steady in difficult situations, to stay clear in moments of confusion, and to move forward without being held back by fear or doubt. When your mind is under your control, your life begins to change. Because you are no longer reacting to everything around you, you are choosing your path with intention. And when you reach this level of control, something profound happens. You stop being shaped by the world, and you start shaping your own experience of it. Your thoughts become tools instead of obstacles, your emotions become signals instead of burdens, and your mind becomes a place of strength instead of struggle. This is the power the Buddha pointed toward, not control over others, but complete mastery over yourself, because once you have that, no one else can control you. 10. Master the art of being unavailable to what drains you. One of the most overlooked forms of power in life is the ability to choose what you give your attention to and what you refuse to engage with. Most people believe that strength comes from reacting, responding, or proving themselves in every situation, but in reality, true strength often comes from the ability to remain unavailable to what drains your energy. Every day, countless situations, people, and thoughts compete for your attention. Some of them are meaningful, but many of them are distractions, negativity, or unnecessary noise. When you engage with everything, you slowly exhaust your mental and emotional capacity without realizing it. The Buddha taught that where your attention goes, your energy follows. This means that every time you focus on something, you are investing a part of yourself into it. If your attention is constantly pulled toward negative conversations, unnecessary conflicts, or meaningless distractions, your energy becomes scattered and weakened. Over time, this creates a state where you feel drained without clearly understanding why. The problem is not always what is happening around you, but what you are choosing to engage with. When you begin to understand this deeply, you start to see that not everything deserves your time, your thoughts, or your reaction. You realize that many situations only exist because people give them attention. Arguments grow because both sides keep reacting. Negativity spreads because people keep feeding it. Drama continues because it is constantly being entertained. The moment you step back and become unavailable to these things, they begin to lose their power over you. Being unavailable does not mean avoiding responsibilities or disconnecting from life. It means consciously choosing not to engage with what does not serve your peace or growth. It means recognizing when something is not worth your energy and having the discipline to walk away from it without feeling the need to explain yourself. This is where most people struggle because they feel obligated to respond, to defend, or to participate, even when it is not beneficial for them. But true power comes from breaking this pattern and deciding that your energy is too valuable to be wasted. As you practice this, you begin to notice how much of your energy was previously being consumed by unnecessary things. Conversations that lead nowhere, people who constantly bring negativity, situations that repeat without any real change, all of these start to become clear to you. Instead of getting involved, you step back. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of explaining, you remain silent. This shift may feel uncomfortable at first because it goes against the habit of constant engagement, but over time, it becomes natural. There is also a strong sense of control that comes with being unavailable to what drains you. When you are constantly reacting to everything, your attention is controlled by external forces. But when you choose what to engage with, you take that control back. You decide where your focus goes, and this decision shapes your entire experience of life. Your mind becomes clearer, your emotions become more stable, and your energy becomes more focused on what truly matters. People may not always understand this change in you. Some may expect you to respond the way you used to engage the way you once did, or to react the way they are used to. But when you remain consistent in your choice to protect your energy, they begin to realize that you are no longer easily pulled into situations that do not serve you. This creates a natural boundary, not through force or confrontation, but through your behavior. You do not need to explain why you are unavailable. Your actions make it clear. Over time, this practice strengthens your inner discipline. You become more aware of what deserves your attention and what does not. You stop acting out of impulse and start acting out of intention. This intentional way of living creates a sense of calm that is not easily disturbed, because your energy is no longer scattered across unnecessary things. Instead, it is directed toward what truly matters in your life. There is also a deeper level of freedom that comes with this. When you are not constantly engaging with everything around you, you create space within your mind. This space allows you to think clearly, reflect deeply, and understand yourself better. You are no longer overwhelmed by noise, and because of that, your inner state becomes more stable. You begin to experience life with more clarity, because your attention is not being pulled in multiple directions at once. Being unavailable also protects you from unnecessary emotional influence. When you engage with negative environments, your mind naturally absorbs that energy. But when you choose to step back, you protect your inner state from being affected. This does not mean you ignore reality, but it means you do not allow it to disturb your peace unnecessarily. You remain aware, but not affected. This balance is what creates emotional strength. As you continue to live this way, you begin to notice a powerful shift in your presence. You are no longer someone who reacts to everything, responds to everyone, or gets involved in every situation. You become selective, intentional, and focused. People may find it harder to access your time and energy, but this is not a loss. It is a sign that you are valuing yourself more. Your energy is no longer available to everything, and because of that, it becomes more valuable. In the end, mastering the art of being unavailable is about understanding that your attention is one of your most valuable resources. Where you place it determines the quality of your thoughts, your emotions, and your life. When you stop giving your attention to what drains you, you naturally create more space for what strengthens you. You become more focused, more calm, and more in control of your inner world. And this is where your power becomes undeniable, because you are no longer reacting to life, you are choosing how to experience it. You are no longer available to everything, only to what truly matters. And in that choice, you protect your energy, your peace, and your path in a way that most people never learn to do. 11. When you stop reacting, you start controlling reality. Most people believe that reality is something that happens to them, something external, unpredictable, and beyond their influence. But if you observe closely, you will begin to notice that what you call reality is deeply connected to how you react to it. Two people can face the exact same situation, yet one feels calm and in control, while the other feels overwhelmed and powerless. The difference is not the situation itself, but the way their mind responds to it. This is the subtle truth that most people overlook, and it is the reason why so many feel trapped by circumstances that could have been handled differently. The Buddha taught that suffering is not created only by what happens, but by the reaction that follows. This reaction is often immediate, automatic, and unconscious. Someone says something negative, and your mind reacts instantly. A situation does not go your way, and your emotions shift without your permission. A small inconvenience turns into frustration, and that frustration begins to control your thoughts, your mood, and even your behavior. In these moments, you are not controlling your reality. You are being controlled by it. Your inner state is shifting based on external events, and this creates a constant sense of instability. When you begin to understand this deeply, you start to see that your reactions are not as necessary as they feel. You realize that just because something happens does not mean you have to respond to it immediately or emotionally. This awareness creates a space, and in that space lies your power. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin to pause. You observe what is happening without immediately attaching meaning to it. You feel the emotion, but you do not let it take over your behavior. This simple shift changes everything, because now you are no longer being pulled by every situation. You are standing steady within it. As you continue to practice this, your relationship with reality begins to change. Situations that once felt overwhelming start to feel manageable. Words that once triggered you begin to lose their impact. Events that once disturbed your peace no longer control your inner state in the same way. This is not because life has become easier, but because you have become stronger. You are no longer reacting in a way that amplifies the situation. Instead, you are responding with awareness, and this awareness reduces unnecessary suffering. There is a powerful effect that comes from this way of living. When you stop reacting impulsively, you stop feeding situations with unnecessary energy. Many problems grow not because of their size, but because of the reactions they receive. A small disagreement turns into a conflict because both sides keep reacting. A simple comment turns into emotional stress because it is overthought and replayed in the mind. But when you choose not to react immediately, you break this cycle. You prevent situations from growing beyond what they actually are. This also gives you control over how you are perceived by others. When you react to everything, people quickly understand your emotional patterns. They know what triggers you, what affects you, and how to get a response from you. But when you remain calm and controlled, you become difficult to read. People can no longer predict your reactions, and because of that, they lose the ability to influence your behavior easily. You are no longer playing a reactive role in their expectations. You are moving with your own awareness. At a deeper level, this practice transforms your inner world. Instead of being constantly pulled between different emotions, you begin to experience a steady sense of calm. Your mind becomes less noisy, because you are not engaging with every thought or reacting to every situation. You begin to see things more clearly, because your perception is no longer clouded by immediate emotional responses. This clarity allows you to make better decisions, because you are not acting out of impulse, but out of understanding. Over time, this way of living creates a strong inner foundation. You become someone who is not easily shaken by external events. Challenges may still come, but they do not disturb your inner balance in the same way. You remain steady, focused, and aware, regardless of what is happening around you. This stability is what gives you control over your reality, because your experience of life is no longer dictated by external circumstances, but by your internal state. There is also a sense of freedom that comes with this. When you stop reacting to everything, you free yourself from unnecessary emotional burdens. You are no longer carrying the weight of every comment, every opinion, or every situation. You allow things to pass without attaching yourself to them. This lightness creates space within your mind, and in that space you begin to experience life more clearly and more peacefully. Many people think that controlling reality means controlling people, situations, or outcomes, but the Buddha pointed to a different truth. True control comes from mastering your response. When you control how you react, you control how situations affect you. When you control your inner state, you control your experience of life. This is the highest form of control because it cannot be taken away by external factors. As you continue to develop this awareness, you will notice that your presence begins to change. You are no longer someone who reacts impulsively or gets pulled into every situation. You become someone who observes first, understands deeply, and responds only when necessary. People may not fully understand this change, but they will feel it. They will notice that you are not easily affected, not easily influenced, and not easily controlled. In the end, stopping your reactions is not about suppressing your emotions or avoiding life. It is about mastering your inner world so completely that your responses become intentional instead of automatic. It is about understanding that your power lies not in what happens to you, but in how you choose to respond to it. When you reach this level, your reality begins to shift, not because the world has changed, but because you have. And that is where true power begins, in the moment you stop reacting to everything and start controlling how you experience it. 12. Become so centered within yourself that nothing outside can shake you. Most people spend their entire lives trying to create stability by controlling what is happening around them. They try to control how people treat them, how situations unfold, and how life progresses, believing that if everything outside is in order, they will finally feel at peace. But the truth is, the outside world is constantly changing. People's behavior is unpredictable, situations shift without warning, and life rarely follows a fixed path. When your sense of stability depends on something so uncertain, your inner state will always feel fragile. This is why so many people feel calm one moment and completely overwhelmed the next, because their peace is tied to conditions that they cannot fully control. The Buddha taught a different path, a path that does not depend on external stability, but builds a deep and unshakable center within. He showed that true peace does not come from controlling life, but from understanding it and aligning your mind in a way that remains steady regardless of what happens. This inner centeredness is not something you are born with. It is something you develop through awareness, discipline, and a deep understanding of your own mind. It begins the moment you stop chasing control over everything outside and start focusing on what is happening within you. When you begin this journey, you start to notice how easily your inner state is affected by external things. A simple comment can change your mood, a small problem can disturb your peace, and a minor inconvenience can create frustration. These reactions feel natural, but they also show how dependent your mind is on what is happening around you. As you become more aware of this, you begin to question it. You start to see that your reactions are not always necessary, and you realize that there is a space between what happens and how you feel about it. In that space lies your center. It is the place where you can observe without immediately reacting, where you can feel without being controlled, and where you can choose your response instead of being driven by impulse. The more you stay connected to this space, the stronger your inner foundation becomes. You are no longer pulled in different directions by every situation, because you have something stable within you that does not depend on external conditions. As you continue to strengthen this center, your relationship with life begins to change. Situations that once felt overwhelming start to feel manageable. Challenges that once disturbed your peace begin to lose their intensity. This does not mean that life becomes easier, but it means that you are no longer easily shaken by it. You begin to understand that external events do not have power over you unless you give them that power through your reaction. This centeredness also changes how you interact with people. When you are not grounded within yourself, you are more likely to seek validation, approval, and reassurance from others. You become affected by their opinions, their behavior, and their perception of you. But when you are centered, you no longer depend on these things. You can listen to others without being influenced by them. You can interact without losing yourself, and you can remain stable even when others are unstable. This creates a strong sense of independence, where your inner state is not controlled by the people around you. There is also a deep sense of calm that comes with being centered. When your mind is not constantly reacting to everything, it becomes quieter. You are no longer overwhelmed by thoughts, emotions, and external noise. Instead, you experience a steady awareness that allows you to see things clearly. This clarity helps you make better decisions because you are not acting out of confusion or emotional intensity. You are acting from a place of understanding, and this makes your actions more effective and intentional. Over time, this inner centeredness becomes your natural state. You no longer have to remind yourself to stay calm because calmness becomes part of who you are. You no longer have to force yourself to ignore distractions because your focus becomes stronger. You no longer have to struggle to maintain your peace because your peace is no longer dependent on external conditions. It is rooted within you, stable and consistent. People may begin to notice this change in you. They may not fully understand it, but they will feel it. They will see that you are not easily disturbed, not easily influenced, and not easily shaken. Situations that would normally create stress do not affect you in the same way. Conversations that would normally trigger reactions do not pull you in. This creates a quiet respect, because people can sense that you have a level of control over yourself that is rare. At a deeper level, being centered also gives you the ability to face life with confidence. When you know that your inner state is stable, you are no longer afraid of what might happen outside. You are no longer constantly worrying about outcomes, because you trust that no matter what happens, you will be able to handle it. This trust removes fear and replaces it with a calm strength that allows you to move forward without hesitation. This does not mean you become detached from life or stop caring about things. It means you care without losing your balance. You engage with life fully, but you do not allow it to control your inner state. You remain connected, but not dependent. This balance is what creates true strength, because it allows you to experience life deeply without being overwhelmed by it. In the end, becoming centered within yourself is the foundation of all real power. It is what allows you to remain steady in uncertainty, calm in chaos, and clear in confusion. When your stability comes from within, nothing outside can truly shake you. You are no longer reacting to life. You are experiencing it with awareness and control. And this is where everything changes, because once you become deeply rooted within yourself, you no longer need to rely on the world to feel strong. You become your own source of stability, your own source of clarity, and your own source of peace. And when you reach that point, you are no longer someone who is easily affected by the outside world. You become someone who moves through it with quiet strength, unshaken, aware, and completely in control of your inner reality. 13. The less you seek validation, the more powerful you become. Most people spend a large part of their lives seeking validation without even realizing it. It appears in small ways that feel normal, almost invisible, but over time, these small habits shape how they think, how they act, and how they see themselves. They share their thoughts, hoping others will agree. They make decisions based on how they will be perceived, and they measure their worth through the reactions they receive from the world. A compliment can lift their mood, and a single negative comment can quietly disturb their peace. This constant dependence on external approval creates an unstable foundation because their sense of self is no longer coming from within. It is being built and rebuilt by the opinions of others. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering, and one of the deepest forms of attachment is the need for validation. When you depend on others to confirm your value, you are placing your inner stability in something that is constantly changing. People's opinions shift, their moods change, and their perception of you is influenced by factors you cannot control. When your sense of worth is tied to something so unstable, your mind naturally becomes restless. You start to overthink your actions, question your decisions, and adjust yourself to fit what you believe others expect from you. Without realizing it, you slowly lose connection with your true self. When you begin to observe this pattern, you start to see how much of your behavior is influenced by the desire to be accepted. You may notice how often you explain yourself unnecessarily, how often you seek reassurance, and how often you hesitate to act because you are concerned about how others will respond. This awareness is the first step toward breaking free from this cycle. Instead of trying to change everything at once, you begin by simply noticing when you are seeking validation and questioning whether it is truly necessary. As this awareness deepens, you begin to shift your focus inward. You start to ask yourself what you truly think, what you truly value, and what direction feels right to you, regardless of external opinions. This shift may feel uncomfortable at first, because you are stepping away from something that once gave you a sense of security. But over time, you begin to realize that true security does not come from being approved by others. It comes from understanding and accepting yourself. When you stop seeking validation, something powerful begins to happen. Your decisions become clearer because they are no longer influenced by the need to impress or satisfy others. Your actions become more authentic because they are aligned with your own understanding instead of external expectations. You begin to move through life with a quiet confidence that does not need constant reinforcement. This confidence is not loud or obvious, but it is steady, and that steadiness creates a strong presence that others can feel. There is also a sense of freedom that comes with letting go of validation. When you are not constantly seeking approval, you are no longer affected by every opinion. Criticism does not disturb you as deeply, and praise does not control you as strongly. You begin to see both as temporary and subjective, rather than as measures of your worth. This creates a balanced state where your mind is not constantly rising and falling based on external reactions. Instead, it remains steady, grounded in your own awareness. At the same time, this shift changes how others perceive you. When you no longer seek validation, you naturally become harder to influence. People can sense that you are not dependent on their approval, and this creates a subtle form of respect. You are no longer trying to fit into expectations, and because of that, you stand out in a way that does not require effort. Your presence becomes more genuine, more grounded, and more impactful, simply because it is not driven by the need to be accepted. The Buddha's teachings emphasize self-awareness and inner understanding because these are the foundations of true strength. When you understand yourself deeply, you no longer need others to define you. You become comfortable with who you are, and this comfort removes the constant need to prove yourself. You begin to trust your own judgment, rely on your own understanding, and move with a sense of clarity that is not easily shaken. Over time, this way of living strengthens your inner foundation. You become less reactive to external opinions and more focused on your own path. You stop comparing yourself to others because you are no longer measuring your worth through external standards. You stop seeking approval because you have already accepted yourself. This creates a powerful shift in your mindset, where your energy is no longer scattered across different expectations, but focused on your own growth and direction. There is also a deeper level to this transformation. When you are not seeking validation, you are able to observe the world more clearly. You see how people project their own insecurities, how opinions are often influenced by personal experiences, and how approval is often temporary. This understanding helps you detach from the need to be validated, because you see that it is not a reliable source of stability. Instead, you turn inward, where your sense of self becomes more consistent and more real. As you continue on this path, you begin to notice that your peace is no longer easily disturbed. Situations that once made you question yourself no longer have the same effect. You remain steady even when others disagree with you, and you remain confident even when you are not understood. This does not mean you ignore feedback or stop learning, but it means your core sense of self is not dependent on it. You listen, you reflect, but you do not lose yourself in the process. In the end, letting go of validation is not about rejecting others or isolating yourself from the world. It is about reclaiming your inner authority. It is about understanding that your worth is not something that needs to be confirmed by others, but something that exists within you. When you stop seeking validation, you stop giving others control over your inner state. You become more independent, more stable, and more aligned with yourself. And this is where true power begins to reveal itself, not in being accepted by everyone, but in being completely grounded in who you are. When you reach this level, you no longer move to be seen, you move with purpose. You no longer speak to be approved, you speak with intention. You no longer live to meet expectations, you live in alignment with your own understanding. This is the power of letting go of validation, because the moment you stop seeking it, you stop giving your power away. And when your power stays within you, it grows into something that cannot be easily shaken, influenced, or taken away by the world around you. At some point, you begin to realize that the real reason you feel drained, confused, or emotionally unstable is not because of the world around you, but because of how much of yourself you have been giving away to it. You have been explaining too much, reacting too quickly, seeking validation too often, and allowing others to understand you so easily that they begin to shape how you feel, how you think, and how you move through life. But the moment you step back and truly understand these patterns, something inside you begins to change. You no longer feel the need to be completely understood. You no longer feel the pressure to respond to everything, and you no longer depend on others to confirm your worth. You begin to move differently, not in a way that is forced or unnatural, but in a way that is calm, controlled, and intentional. You speak when it matters, and you remain silent when it does not. You observe more than you react, and you choose your responses instead of being driven by impulse. You allow people to think what they want, without feeling the need to correct every misunderstanding. This shift may seem small from the outside, but within you, it creates a powerful sense of control that changes everything. As you continue to practice this, your energy becomes more protected, your mind becomes more stable, and your presence becomes stronger without you trying to make it so. People may not fully understand you anymore, and that is exactly where your power begins to grow. Because when you are not easily read, you are not easily influenced. When you are not constantly reacting, you are not easily controlled. And when you are no longer seeking validation, you become independent of the very thing that once shaped your reality. This does not mean you become distant or disconnected from life. It means you become centered within it. You still experience emotions, you still face challenges, and you still interact with the world, but you do it from a place of awareness instead of reaction. You are no longer pulled in every direction by external forces, because you have built something stable within yourself that does not depend on them. In the end, being hard to understand is not about confusing people or hiding who you are. It is about no longer giving your inner world away so easily. It is about choosing what to reveal and what to keep within. It is about protecting your peace, your energy, and your focus in a world that constantly tries to pull it away from you. When you reach this level, your power is no longer something you show, it is something you carry quietly within you. And that is the real transformation. The moment you stop trying to be understood by everyone and start understanding yourself deeply, because in that moment, you do not just become stronger, you become someone who cannot be easily shaken, easily influenced, or easily controlled. You become calm in chaos, clear in confusion, and steady in a world that is constantly changing, and that is where true power lives.